Hi guys, this is Lashette from Scarlet Moon Creations, and I'm back surprisingly with a new deck walkthrough. I was not planning this. This is a gift that I'm very happy for. And this is the Herbcrafters Tarot deck. Artwork by Joanna Powell Colbert, written by Letitia Guthrie. So we're gonna do my walkthrough and first impressions of this deck. I've got some mugwort, which seems appropriate. This is one of my personal plant allies. It's a little dried. This guy grows everywhere around here, and I use it for divination purposes. And, you know, it's an herbal deck, an herbal tarot deck, which I wanted for a while. Let's look at the box. It's published by US Game Systems. If you have not watched any of my recent videos, just FYI, my camera phone broke, so I have to use a lower quality filming experience. So I apologize for that. There are the thumb holes. Let's read the back real quick. The Herbcrafters Tarot celebrates the handicraft tools and time-honored folk skills related to herbs, trees, flowers, and other plants that share their gifts with us. This deck and book set explores the relationship between herbs and how people use them for medicine, creativity, ritual, and spiritual guidance. It also considers herbs as archetypes and explores our partnership with the botanical realm. Herbcrafters Tarot is an engaging introduction to the herbalism and plant spirit magic and can be used as a profound divinatory tool. The set includes 78 cards and a 124-page book full of herbal inspiration and ideas for crafting with the cards. The magic is in the making. So I love the drawings, and here's 2 examples of the cards. The thumb holes. This opens relatively easy. Not the biggest box I have, but not the smallest either, I should say. Here's the book. Again, not the thickest or the biggest book I have, but good one. And the cards, and yeah, sorry. One of my friends looked at this. So we'll come back to the cards in a second. Just gonna talk about the book first, like I usually do. It's a nice solid guy. Not scratch resistant, if you can see that, but I'll live. I use my decks. I didn't realize this was a US Game System deck, but I'm happy. Table of Contents. For all of you who have retreated with me on the sacred land of Aldermarsh and Paramihiyas. Acknowledgements. Just cool. Introduction. Okay, so the intro is very nice. I feel like this is one of the best written intros. And I'm including the who is an herb crafter and about this deck, cards and correspondences section, because wow. Not gonna read the whole thing to you guys. You can read that when you purchase it, or if you really need to, pause and try to read it now. But to give you the gist, it goes into a little bit about tarot in the beginning. I really like the part about tarot and herbs being the tools and natural allies. The seer, the healer, and the wise one. Personally, these are the 2 main tools that I use in my personal spiritual practice. Another reason why I really wanted this deck. Tarot is often described as representing archetypes in human form. Similarly, we might think of herbs as archetypes in botanical form. And I like that they want to capture the relationship between plants and people, the encounter. That is a word they keep using. And I really appreciate that, acknowledging the partnership between the botanical and the human worlds. And they talk about how the plants in the deck are mostly from the Pacific Northwest and the Sonoran Desert. They include some stuff about Leticia, the writer, Mexican-American heritage, and they both have some Celtic heritage. So these are the plant types that are included here, which I appreciate. I think, I can't be sure, but I think a lot of other botanical decks, whether they be oracles or tarot, don't often specify the region and area of the plants they're talking about are focused on. So it can be really difficult if you're not from that area, connecting with those particular plants in that botanical deck. But that's not the only way you can use those decks, which is fine. They acknowledge a lot of the spice trade and the colonization of lands, and therefore the botanicals, the flora of those lands, and they try their best to include information that is not harmful to those lands and those peoples and those cultural practices of using these plants. Who is an herb crafter? They are an aficionada of the botanical realm. She is in love with plants and longs to know them more deeply. And about this deck, again, still the 78 cards, 22 major arcana representing the spirit. In the major arcana, we follow an herb crafter's journey as she meets the wilderness and learns to cultivate a garden for herself in one world. The minor arcana, the 4 suits, swords, wands, cups, pentacles, and they talk about the overall correspondences for them. I've seen how this deck is put in the box here, like without shuffling, and they group like each number. So aces, all 4 aces are together, all 4 twos are together, etc., etc. They talk about the 16 people cards, the legacy of women healers throughout history, and they show the encounters again between the botanical world and the human world. So you see people's hands. The names are changed from the traditional court names. This is, I think, where the Mexican American heritage of Leticia comes in. Cards and correspondences section. Each plant contains a universe of possibilities for divination, healing, and story. There's not a fixed definition. You can, put your own culture, your own beliefs for each card. And then we get into the major arcana here. A little bit more detail about follow a woman on her journey, deeper into understanding plant than each card. So each card, it's 1 page, the number and title from the traditional tarot, then the name of the plant, the popular name, probably the most well-known name in the Celtic and Mexican American heritage. Then we get the Latin names, a couple of phrases that kind of sum up, I guess, the divinatory meaning, and I think that gives you an option of using this kind of like an oracle deck. You have to use the book, but there it is. A description of what's on the card, and then some story about why they picked this particular herb to correspond with this particular spot in the tarot. some preparation stuff. And then on the bottom, crafting with the card. Different ways you can use that, I think, spiritually and medicinally. So like the tower's mushroom, writing about tragedy you are facing, burying the writing beneath a decaying mushroom log. Enhance vitality to cope better with change. Take medicinal mushrooms like reishi and responsibly harvested chaga. Or learn something new, enroll in a mushroom foraging class. This is the Tower card. Let tragedy nourish the soul of rebirth. Everything is food for growth. So a little bit more than keywords at the top there. Let's see. And to the minor arcana, like I said, explores the day-to-day life of an herb crafter. Moments in an herb crafter's path. The suits are conduits for life. Air, thoughts and learning. Fire, action and play. Water, emotions. Nourish. Earth, wealth making. The numbers are the phases of growth. The people, hijas, adelitas, madres, and curanderas. So we started off with the aces. So I guess they give a little bit in the beginning. So the book follows the setup of the way the cards are put together. Like I said, each number, all 4 suits are together. So I like this. There's a little bit about each number or person before we get into each individual. And yeah, so 1 page per card of information. So let's look in the people section. Adelitas or warriors, activism, drive, autonomy. So they also get a little intro before going into each. And I like this. The end here we have using the deck, connecting with the herbs, and some spreads. 3 cards, who, what, where. 5 cards, direction, a year ahead spread. Crafting activities. So these are different ways you can use our herbs, which is cool. I really like that they included this. And then about the creators, and about the artwork. Joanna's medium is Prismacolor pencils in a photorealistic style. Together, Joanna and Letitia brainstormed the imagery for each of the cards. Then they took photos with Letitia staging most of the photo shoot. There's digital editing, adjusting the composition, adding some elements, removing others. Joanna printed it out, made a line drawing based on the photo composition, and then painted the final piece with Prismacolor pencils. Wow, okay, that is really cool to know. And there's a bibliography, which includes herbal things. So, very awesome. A very nice book. Like, you can always want, bare minimum, from a guidebook for a tarot deck is for the creators to explain why they chose to correspond what they did. And also to explain the art process. So, let's look at these cards. These are the backs, and I cannot express, like, the camera is not really showing them to their best. But if this is Prismacolor in a photorealistic style, like, this looks like a photo. So good job. Good job, Joanna. Right. Let's start from the beginning. The Fool is the dandelion. And I like that. Different. The Magician is the sunflower. Now this one, I can tell this is drawing, coloring. The High Priestess is mugwort, and I really appreciate that. I've got some mugwort here. Like just my personal association. Love that. So I really have to look at the book to see why they placed these the way they did. Rose is the Empress, which makes sense. That love and kind of Venusian energy. The Emperor is Hemlock. Now, I would definitely have to look this up, and the placement, this is giving like crystal grid vibes, herbal grid in this case. Cacao for the Hierophant, which makes sense. There's like a cacao ceremony going on here, so I could see traditionally, but this is recent information for me, like to think of cacao as a traditional, or in a traditional sense. The Lover's Hawthorn. The Chariot Cedar. So I'm not an expert on every plant, and some of my ignorance might just be due to cultural differences. So occasionally I'll pick up this guidebook while doing this walkthrough, but I'm not going to do it for every single one. The mandala lies on a dark forest floor. A cedar branch stripped of its needles forms the shape of roots, while another fuller one makes the shape of a tree canopy. The mandala is framed by lush trees. Okay. Life is a forward-moving gift. Embark on a deeper quest. Learn from ancient wisdom and forge a new path. Cedar is both a spiritual vessel used in sacred ceremony and a literal vessel when it is used for making canoes. Ooh, like strong, flexible cedar roots finding their way through the forest. Be determined and opportunistic. Travel between the worlds of heaven and earth. Bring the knowledge of spirit and soul into the body, just as the cedar trunk contains the stories of earth. Have faith in the experience. It is not the triumph, but the journey that leads to mastery. Well, they convinced me. Okay. Strength, garlic, which, yes. It's very strong in flavor, in growth, in perseverance. Garlic, just, that makes sense to me. The Hermit, Usnea. Now, I don't really know much about this plant, but I like the wreath. The Wheel of Fortune is a kitchen garden, which makes sense. The cycle of life, and the circle, the different plants and changes the directions there. Cannabis Justice. Now, that is very interesting. Particularly nowadays. Very interesting. The Hanged One, burdock root, yes, quite often looks like a man hanging or a person hanging. And I'm assuming the teacup is in reference to the effect drinking burdock tea or infusion or decoction could have on you. Could be wrong. Marigold for death. So this is probably the most well-known plant association as far as Mexican Americans are aware of, or Americans are aware of with Mexico. Though I don't know why. Temperance, camellia. The camellia does have a calming effect. The Devil's Blackberry. Interesting. Other than it being black, I'm curious. And there's the pie here as well. So, The Tower mushrooms. So, Mushrooms quite often grow on dead or dying logs, which is an interesting take on the cycle of life, the ending of something, the beginning of something new, whether you want it or not. Star is cottonwood. Now the leaves do look like kind of have a star pattern when all on the branch. The moon datura. I have to look up the botanical name because I've seen this and I call it something else, though I can't remember what. And the moonflower, it does give that vibe. The sun, St. John's wort. Yes, these guys are very sunny and very... it has a force and a vitality when you take it, whether it's in an oil or a tincture, that kind of thing. That red, the vitamins and minerals, the way it can help you medicinally, the help with mentally as well. Awakening Tulsi, which I don't know a lot about, and I'm not exactly sure how this applies, but I appreciate that it's not called judgment. So I already like this a whole lot better. And the world, Pachamama, which is another thing of Mexican and Mexican-American heritage, though I don't really know much about it. But I appreciate the similarity to the world, but different. Now we're into the aces, and I'll check in the book again real quick. Weed starting point possibilities. Ace cards feature herbs most of us know as weeds, and they're ancient medicine with a long history of use, also referred to as dooryard herbs. So the ace of air, or the ace of swords, is Yarrow. Very interesting. The ace of fire is Mulane. The ace, of wands. The ace of water or cups is plantain, which I've been working with quite a bit recently, and this definitely fits. It looks like it's showing us a ribwort or narrowleaf plantain in particular. The ace of earth is nettle. I've been working with weeds or dooryard herbs a lot, and just these four perfectly fit with those elements. I don't even know how else to describe it. The twos, pollinators, choice, reciprocity. They attack birds, moths, butterflies, beneficial insects, the animals that spread pollen and fruit. The Herbcrafter now meets her first challenge. As her awareness grows beyond weeds, she encounters difficulties facing the botanical world. She learns how her choices affect the ecosystem. Two of air, chicory, release long-held beliefs, be receptive to guidance, open to unlikely partnerships. Old ideas can be blinders to new wisdom. Two of fire, bee balm. That's definitely given fiery energy. An empowered, bright spirit inspires others. Bee balm brings bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds. Chicory is, to go back, often classified as a weed, and however, as beneficial plant medicine, and draws important insects to the garden. The two of water is mallow, another that I think is quite often considered a weed, but that's okay. Aphrodite reminds us that vulnerability and sovereignty create relationship. Mallow attracts many pollinators. Witch hazel, 2 of earth. Interesting. A busy life is an abundant life. Flowering in the late winter, witch hazel blends the edges of winter and spring, grief and joy, depth and lightness. I'm not going to lie, with the name changes, it's hard to remember the original tarot meanings. So the 3s, flourishing, abundance, and harmony. 3 cards feature plants that are easy to grow. These are the first plants the Herbcrafters attempt to cultivate in her garden. The success of growing her first garden is a milestone. She feels a sense of confidence and productivity. 3 of air, echinacea. 3 of fire, calendula. And they're drying it here. 3 of water, lemon balm. 3 of earth, raspberry. So I'm forgetting if this was said, but I'll get into the elements in a second. So the 4s, 4 of borders, limit structure. Feature herbs used as a border or hedgerow plants. They begin to cultivate community, take you out of her own experience to build a bigger world. 4 teaches her about edges and boundaries. So let me go back a bit. Okay, yeah, so the tools of the Herbcrafters are shown also. The suits: learning, creating, nourishing, and giving. And okay. So lavender, 4 of air, very airy energy for lavender. Elder, elderberry, elder flower, elder the bush, for fire, that active energy. I'm thinking like how these are used, I guess, energetically, either medicinally or spiritually, and like for water, mint. The water, like they fit their elements so well, like the fire being active, water being emotional and dealing with emotions and relationships and that kind of thing. The earth being grounded, practical. Willow, foundational. They're making the basket here. I love that. The air being about thoughts, the brain. White sage. This is the 4 of air. Black cohosh. Fire, 5 of fire. Like the activity, the creativity. 4 of water, golden seal. On the river's edge. 5 of earth, slippery elm. So we're starting to get into bigger plants here as well as we go deeper, which I really like it said that, but still. 6 of air, the cattails. 6 of fire, nasturtium. I'm never sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but those warm colors too for the fire. 6 of water, borage. And yeah, you do like infusions and steeping in alcohols too. Tinctures. 6 of earth, pine. Here we go. Like, it's not about the tree here, which I like. I mean, obviously it comes from a tree, but still. 7 of air, eucalyptus. And they're making, it looks like a essential oil. 7 of fire, cinnamon. So some fruits of plants here too. Cinnamon, very fiery, very active energy. 7 of water, birch. Now this water one, I don't know very well birch, but 7 of earth, oak, is, I don't know, a more earthy tree than oak, at least for us Americans. The 8 of air, licorice. Not a fave, but definitely the airy parts of the plant are what you use, the leaves above ground. 8 of fire, ginger. Another spicy, fiery one, even though it's a root. 8 of water, valerian. Again, best used as a tea. I love the kind of bedtime look here with the water outside the window. The 8 of earth, turmeric. Let's go, a root. 9 of air, pomegranate. Wow, I would not have thought about this, but interesting. 9 of fire, wild cherry. Again, agree. 9 of water, peach, which are currently blooming like this now. The peach trees. So pretty. 9 of earth, apple. Kind of doesn't get more earthy than apple in a fruit way. 10 of air, alfalfa. Another plant where you basically use the air parts only. And that giant bowline back there. 10 of fire, comfrey, which I need to learn more about. 10 of water, red clover. Again, great, steeped. 10 of earth, horsetail. Wow, now this I don't know anything about. I don't know if I've heard of this before. The people, though. So, I think I mentioned it in passing. So, Hija's daughters play, wonder, innocence. So, the page equivalents. Hija of air, catnip. The Hija of fire is the California poppy, which I don't have much experience with, but I have heard of. I'm in New York, so California specific plants, not ones I know very well. Hija of water, chamomile. Yes, yes. What I'm seeing here is, I think, plants that the young would connect with easily. Hija of earth, linden. Flexible. So, Adelitas are warriors. And they would correspond, obviously, with the knights. Adelita of air, oregano. Interesting. I wonder if this is good for steam, like womb steam, or if this is more about urinary tract cleansing. Adelita of fire is cayenne. I mean, you don't get very much more fiery fire than cayenne peppers, at least for healing spiritual purposes. Adelita of water, ocotillo. I don't know this plant at all. So I appreciate that there's some plants in here I've never heard or seen of too. So that's another like aspect of the learning experience. Adelita of earth, yucca. We have these here. Okay, madre, mothers. Mother of air, mother wart. If this plant wasn't in the mothers, I don't know where else it would be. Madre of fire, thyme. Interesting. I know a lot about thyme. I like it. I don't know what I put it with fire, but or action, maybe the active. I could, but I'll learn as I read. Madre of water, oats, yes. Unfortunately, they don't agree with me anymore, which makes me sad. Madre of earth, creosote bush. Creosote bush. Now, I don't know this just from this name. I'd have to look it up, and the artwork is not clear enough for me to be sure, but I like the kind of offering hands. And I haven't mentioned it, but I like the hands in this. I love the hands in this. And lastly, the kings, curanderas. Curandera of air, Rosemary. Yes. Just yes. Curandera of fire, Damiana. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Curandera of water, seaweed. I mean, I wouldn't have thought about it, but yes. I love this. Seaweed bath while the sea is outside the window. And curandera of earth, sweet grass. Yes. Yeah. Like, I love this so much. Like, I can't wait to learn more. I can't wait to read more, to do an in-depth study, because of course I will. I love plants. And this deck does not disappoint, even with first impressions. I didn't often have the words to describe on hand, like, why I feel these plants fit. The way this has been put together as a deck, just chef's kiss. I like the titles, focusing on the elements in the minor arcana makes sense, and I have to think a bit more about the major arcana, but you know, just the care and the effort that was put into this, and then the book to explain, just I really appreciate this deck. And this is on first impression. I could not be happier to have this deck to work with, and I can't wait to work with it, but I will have to. So one day there will be a deck review where I will talk about how I worked with this, and you know, what I've learned about the correspondences between the tarot and the herbs here. But I think they did an amazing job. Joanna Powell-Colbert and Letitia Guthrie, thank you so very much. And thank you for watching my video. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you are new. Hit the notification bell so you know when my next videos are coming out. In the description box there is a 10% off discount code for my Etsy shop, where I do readings as well as make herbal blends, particularly baths and body products. There's some oils in there as well, if you are interested in that kind of thing. Links to all my social media, if you would like to follow me elsewhere, like Instagram, Twitter, are there too. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.